Okay, today we'll discuss about Docker Compose. We already discussed about Docker file. Okay, so what is the purpose of Docker file? In order to create our own customized images, we are going to create the Docker file. But what is the purpose of Docker Compose is? Docker Compose is a tool we are going to use to create multiple containers and their network storage volumes, all these we can create as a single shot in the Docker Compose environment. So this is one of the automation tool. What is the advantage of the Docker Compose is? Docker Compose is one of the tool on top of Docker to create multiple containers. So Docker file is used to create. Docker file is to create our own customized images. Our own customized images we are going to create. Whereas in the Docker Compose also we have a Docker Compose file. People will ask us what is the difference between Docker file and Docker Compose file, and why we are going to use the Docker Compose file is multi-containers. If you want to create multiple containers, then we need to use multiple Docker run commands. But I don't want to specify the multiple Docker run commands. As a single shot from the Docker Compose file, I can create multiple containers. And it's not only creating the multiple containers, I can start, stop, or maybe like a restart, all these kind of operations also. Using Docker command line tool, we can do all these. But with the Docker Compose, what is the advantage? What is the advantage? For the multiple containers, we can create those. For the multiple containers, we can create those. Okay, for multiple containers, we can start, we can stop, or we can terminate. All these operations we can perform at the bulk operations level. We can do. That is the main advantage of using Docker Compose. Okay, so then multi-container orchestration, simplified management, their network, and for the different environments also we can set up. Okay, so this is not for the production level. Mostly for the dev environment, it would be suitable. For the dev environment, it's going to be suitable, not suitable for the production workloads. 1 second.
Sorry, sir, it is not audible.
So I'm sorry. Is it audible now?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, say, I think what is the main challenge with the Docker Compose is it's only suitable for the local development itself. It's not suitable for the production workloads. For the production workloads, it's recommended to go for it's recommended to go for Docker Swarm or maybe Kubernetes kind of environments better to go because Docker Compose is only on the single mission only, but that doesn't give the scalability, load balancing, high availability for our applications. Okay, but in which use cases we are going to use the Docker Compose? Say for the local development or small projects, POCs, or maybe for the testing purpose we are going to use. For the production workloads, it doesn't suit. Okay. And we need to write a Docker compose file. The compose file having the instructions how to create the multiple containers, their network, storage, all these can be created by the Docker compose file. By the Docker compose file, we are going to create these all multiple containers. All these are getting created. Okay, so a sample Docker compose file will discuss. So now in this, the first one is the version. What is the version of the API we need to use? Okay, mostly we have the 3.8, 3.9 for the higher version. Now even in the newer version of the compose, even version also not mandatory. Then here we have service. Service is nothing but one container kind of thing. Normally in the container, what are the instructions will give? Will give the image, will give the name, will give the port numbers, will attach the volumes, will attach the networking. All those normally while running the command line we have given. But now what all these instructions we are giving in the form of YAML file we are going to give. Say image already we given like a Nginx or Tomcat or our own customized images, those tags, all those. Then ports we are giving. Then volumes, environment depends on is the new thing we are getting. What is that? I'll explain. And CMD also we have volumes network also. Okay. So like this here we are going to create. Say in this example, okay, so now here, this is one Docker Compose file. In this, we have version is 3.8. Then services, one is one web service. Okay, so now, and that depends on app. That means here, this is creating any idea how many containers are getting created in this Docker file. If I use this Docker file, if I use this Docker file, okay, how many containers are getting created? How many containers are getting created if I create this Docker file? Okay, so this is one container, and this is one container, and this is another container. Okay, and for some of the containers we given the volumes also, and some networks also we have created. Some networks also we have created. Okay, so then here if I go for this, what is the image it is using? Say image normally also will give the image, right? Then port also hyphen P, and we can use hyphen V or hyphen mount, we can attach. Okay, so what is this depends on is when I run this command, okay, first web is going to create or app is going to create. So if I use the depends on option, then web is going to create or app is going to create in this use case. Web is
With
dependent on web is dependent on
app.
app. Then first which container is getting created?
App is created
App is
first.
getting created. At the time of deletion, if I delete, first which container will delete? If I delete the container, first which container will get delete? First web will delete, after that app will delete. Okay. So why we are using depends on here is to explicitly depends upon that resource, like first I want to DB also. So then I'll keep for both these containers first DB is required, then DB I'll tell. Okay. So then all these like if I use the command, okay, what is the command here we have is docker hyphen compose up hyphen d. If I run this command, okay, so then that is getting created almost three containers that we are calling as services, but those are technically containers itself in the Docker Swarm environment. Then their volumes and networks also getting created. Their volumes and networks also getting created as a single shot if I use the Docker Compose. If I use the Docker Compose, all are getting created. And what is the command I need to do? Docker hyphen compose up hyphen
D.
D. So the D meaning is detach mode. If I don't use detach mode, all these containers are foreground, it's running. That's not one of the best practice. It's not one of the best practice. Okay. So then, like what would be the name of the compose file we need to keep in the directory is docker-compose.yml or docker-compose.yaml. Then I don't need to specify that compose file. Otherwise, I need to use -c. But one of the best practices is docker-compose.yml or docker-compose.yaml is the one of the naming pattern we need to use. For Docker file, D should be capital. Here, there is no such restrictions. Okay. So then like here we need to specify the version, services, volumes. Okay. Then if I use Docker hyphen compose up, what is going to happen? It's going to create, run, and start all those containers. If I use Docker compose down, if I use Docker compose down, all containers are getting deleted. All containers are getting deleted. Then if I use Docker compose build, in that image, instead of image, if I specify my Docker file path, compose itself will build the image also. Normally, like here, I'm giving the image like Nginx or MySQL, like this, I given the images, right? But what is the Docker compose having the capability is, if I give the Docker file path, the build also like that means the Docker build, whatever I'm doing, that is also can be done by, that is also can be done by the Docker compose itself. Okay, even if I do the up also, if I don't give the image name, say try to understand here. Uh, what is the image I have given here? Nginx colon latest, right? Instead of Nginx colon latest, I given my have given my build Docker file path. Then it is creating a container, but first it is building the image. Okay, but in this use case, already we have that image, and that's we are going to use it. Okay, so that image we are going to use in this use case. Okay, so but Docker Compose have the capability, it can build also, and from that, what is the image we are getting? It's going to create the container also from that. It's going to create the container also from that. And what is the Docker PS? It shows all the containers in that compose file, whatever the say, suppose in our scenario we have three containers, all it is going to print. Then Docker Compose logs. So all services, say suppose here all services means in the compose environment, it's containers itself. All are getting displayed. So mostly for the dev and QA environments for basic pipelines. Okay, so we are going to use. Not suitable for production deployments. In the production, better to go for either Docker Swarm environment or Kubernetes we are going to
Kubernetes.
take. Okay, but to deploy the multiple containers, their storage network, instead of using the volumes, better to go for the compose. So now here we have a pet clinic app. Pet clinic app, what I want is, I want even a database also. Okay, so then here I'm going to create one service. The first compose one will have the version. Okay, so we have the version. After that, services we are going to specify. Say yesterday we build one pet clinic app, right? That pet clinic app yesterday when it uses for the dev environment or maybe in the small environment, it may be using database internally. But what is my requirement is, I'm going to use two things. One is database. One is that Spring Boot microservice. That is the pet clinic. Okay. So then here is it a best practice to pass like this? In the environment, I'm passing my database password. This is not at all recommended in the production environments, because what is going to happen with that?
Others also will know
Yeah,
the
if someone sees that, because we are going to keep these Docker files, Docker compose files in our source code itself, we are going to keep. Then everyone are getting our credentials. So that is the reason it's not at all recommended to keep like this. But as of now, we are passing them in the environment, and port numbers, volume, and network. Okay, so then here this statement you need to tell me. So this is second container or second service, that's name is pet clinic we given. What that build and dot slash pet clinic, what it is going to do, you need to explain me. So what is that build is doing is, in my local directory, pet clinic directory, I have my Docker file. Okay, as of now, I don't have my image. What I have my Docker file. Then I'm going to build that image. Okay, after that, that image I'm going to run as the container. And I given hyphen name normal I will give, right? That is I'm going to give the pet clinic. And what this depends on is, first I want my database need to be built. After that, my pet clinic app need to be done. And Spring Boot environment details, port numbers, networks, all these volumes, all this I'm attaching. Then in order to run these two containers, what is the command I need to use? If I am using Docker Compose, docker-compose up -d is the best practice, because to run in the detached mode. Okay. Any doubts? Okay. But in the production environments, environment like this, passing the username and username may be fine, but password we shouldn't pass directly in the compose file. We need to use the sensitive kind of details like secrets or Azure Vaults or AWS Secret Manager. From that itself, we need to pass the details. Okay. So then we have the service. Service is nothing but in the compose, it is creating a container itself. Okay. So two containers are getting created in this. One is MySQL, and in the second container, like it's going to build the image. In the .pet clinic directory, we should have the Docker file, and from that it is going to build. And it depends on, we'll make sure that SQL need to be MySQL container need to start after this itself, and we are passing our environment details. All those also we are going to do. Okay, so then Docker compose up hyphen build or Docker hyphen d and build we are going to perform. Okay, so like this, here we are going to specify our Docker compose files. Okay, so with the Docker compose, with the latest version, we have 3.8 or 3.9 is the version of that compose file we have. And already we have the Docker file, from that we are going to build it. Okay, so then in the production environments, it's not recommended to use the Docker Compose. We are going to bring the group of Docker engines as a single entity, that is called as Docker Swarm. So what is the purpose of the Docker Swarm is it's a inbuilt solution because we need to go for Kubernetes for that orchestration, but we have an inbuilt solution for the Docker that is called as Docker Swarm. What is the concept of Docker Swarm? Group of Docker engines. Normally, all these we have like a we have different entities, different Docker engines we have, but all we are going to bring them into one cluster that is called as Docker Swarm. Okay, so it's a Docker group of those Docker engines as the cluster we are maintaining, and that is called as Docker Swarm.
Docker farm.
It's a group of those Docker engines. We are bringing that as a Docker Swarm environment. What is the advantage of the Docker Swarm is independently one container, one Docker engine may not run production workloads. As the group, when we are running those in the Swarm environment itself, it suits. But even compared to the Swarm, also production workloads recommended to go for Kubernetes itself. But what is the Docker Swarm is? Local or native Docker native like a Swarm environment is Docker Swarm. Okay, so what is the main advantage? Is the single container we don't get the high availability, load balancing, scale up, scale down. But this also doesn't suit for the production. For the production, 90% people prefer to go for Kubernetes itself.
Cuba.
But compared to Docker, Docker Swarm will give high availability, load balancing, scale up, scale down, but nowhere comparable with Kubernetes.
Kubernetes.
Okay. So then in the Docker Swarm environment, we are going to create a group of replicas that is called as a Docker service. In the Swarm environment, we don't run the containers. Okay. So we are going to run the service. Okay. So and in the service, I'm going to specify more number of replicas. I want 10 replicas, 20 replicas for each microservice. Okay. Select this more number of replicas as a single entity we are going to maintain. That is service. Okay. So now here we have two types of services in the Docker Swarm. In the replicated service, you can specify number of services. Say suppose I want 30 replicas, I want 40 replicas, and I can scale up also. But if I use a global service, you don't need to specify the number of replicas. You just need to specify how many number of nodes we have. Automatically in each node, one container would be running. On each node, one container would be running. Okay. So mostly we are going to use replicated service. So what is your understanding of global service?
Only one container per
Yeah, say in
node
the
in the smart.
yeah, if you have 10 nodes,
That is replicated service.
yeah, if you have 10 nodes will run 10 replicas.
Yeah.
Okay, in the replicated service, how many you want, you can specify. You can specify 2 replicas or 20 replicas. That depends upon your workload. But if it is a global thing,
Only
each
one
each
container per
node one
one.
container would be running.
Mm.
The same scenario for the global service, the equivalent service in the Kubernetes is daemon set. We'll discuss what is the daemon set also. Then here, like all these days, we have Kubernetes assume I have 10 Docker engines. All are isolated. Okay, that means all are running separately. But what is the advantage of Unity is strength. If I bring them all into the cluster, I can get more strength. That is the reason I want to bring them into the Swarm mode. In all those missions, like in that Swarm mode, we have two components. One is manager, and the second one is worker. It's just a cluster kind of thing. Say we have a master and slave kind of concept. Here we have the manager and workers. Mostly the containers are running on the managers or workers, where the workload would be running, where the workload would be running on the manager or workers. and the workers itself it will be running. But the control the swarm, we have some management components. Okay, so now in the 10 missions, we'll make two maybe as the managers, remaining 8 as the workers we are making. What is the disadvantage if I make only one as the manager? What is the problem? If I make only one as the cluster, what is the problem?
Maybe the strength will.
No, no. If that is down, it's a single point of crash.
Okay.
That is the reason minimum multi-master clusters are supported. What is the advantage with that? Even one master goes down, the solution is highly available. If one master goes down, the solution is highly available. Okay. So then, say here on the those 10 missions are as of now not in the SWAM environment. All are 10 maybe in the isolated Docker engines. In order to bring them into the SWAM mode, what I need to do is Docker SWAM init. This I need to run on the first mission. Then I'm initializing my SWAM, and the first mission will become the manager itself. Okay. So in order to initialize into the SWAM, what I need to do? What I need to do in order to run as the swarm? I need to run one command docker swarm init. I need to run. If I run the docker swarm init, what is going to happen? The first mission is going to be become the swarm mode. Okay, but remaining 9 missions. Okay, but this swarm has been initialized. Swarm has been initialized, and first mission became manager also. In the first mission where I have initialized, what is the command I given is docker swarm
Docker Swarm
init.
init
That mission has become
manager.
a manager, and that has been like a joined to the swarm also. That has been joined to the swarm also.
Swarm.
Okay, so then, so what I need to do, on the second mission onwards, what I need to do is, okay, so what I need to do on the second mission onwards is I need to join them. Okay, so now when I first mission will become the manager, and Sam also has been initialized, and it will generate one token. Okay, remaining 9 not join into the SWAM mode. If I run the token, they also join into SWAM mode. Okay, so what is going to happen in this use case? What is going to happen in this use case? First mission has become
Manager, and it will generate
manager,
one
and
token.
but remaining 9 are not into the SWAM as of now. But on the first mission, I'm getting a manager token, and the token I need to run in all the 9 missions. Then only those also reporting to
Swarm.
in the SWAM environment. All are now joined into the SWAM. Okay. In the first mission, what is the command I need to do?
Docker Swarm init.
Docker SWAM init. On the second mission onwards,
Swarm init.
we need to join token. We need to run. That join token we need to run. Okay, so now here this Docker Swarm join, that token, all these we are running in which mission, or not on the manager mission where we are running.
The token.
No, no, where in the manager or worker?
Worker.
In the worker. In our use case, how many workers we are making?
9.
As of now, 9, 8 we are making, but one more worker I'll promote as manager also, because I want to keep two. But as of now,
To
the 9
manager.
missions we want to run this worker to node.
Mm.
Okay, so then in the Swarm environment, we don't create the containers. We'll create two resources. One is service, or the highest level of object is the stack. So one is the service, and second one is
Stack.
stack. How to create that service and stack also we'll discuss. So now here this service is not equivalent to container. If I give three replicas means that is running as how many number of containers are getting created?
9.
How many replicas are there in that?
Mm.
Three, right? Okay,
Yes, sir.
three containers are technically creating.
Okay.
Those may be distributed across the multiple nodes also. Then what is the advantage is even one node goes down also, my application is highly available. In the Docker Compose environment, I have only one container is running, and if that is down, it's a single point of crash. But in the Compose, in the Swarm environment, what's happening is I'm not running the containers, I'm running the services, and the service I have more replicas. Even one or two replicas are down also. We don't get we don't get application downtime. Even any of the node also out of those nodes, one or two nodes are down also. The application is mostly highly available. So that's not possible in the Docker Compose environment. Okay, that's the reason Docker Compose is not for the production workloads. We need to go for either Docker Swarm environment or
Kubernetes.
Kubernetes. In the Docker service, instead of creating one independent container, we are creating more number of replicas, and Swarm will take care. Those replicas need to run on the multiple worker nodes. Not all are on the same worker node. That kind of scheduling is going to happen. Even one worker node goes down also, all are not running on that itself. Okay, so now here we don't have the containers. Say technically we have the replicas, and if I run the three replicas means what is going to happen? Three containers are getting created. In which node that would be manager will decide. Manager will decide on which worker those need to be running. Okay, but even we don't create the service also. What is the highest level of object we'll create? We'll create the stack. Okay, so Docker stack we are going to create. So what is the advantage of the Docker stack is it's 90% looks like a Swarm like compose file itself, but we are creating multiple services, and each service will have multiple replicas. Each service will have multiple
Replicas.
replicas we have. That means the complete microservice kind of application we can deploy as a single shot using the stack itself. Updates, rollbacks, all these also for the production microservices we can deploy using the stack file itself. So that is the main advantage of using stack file. Okay. So any doubts on this? So how to do this? We'll discuss in the tomorrow session.
Sir, what is the advantage of stack? Once repeat
Yeah,
again.
stack is the complete application we can deploy as a single shot. So
Oh,
assume I have my application having 10 microservices. Okay, and the
oh,
10 microservices, service, I'm going to deploy as a 20 replicas. If I run it manually, I need to run 200 times Docker containers. I need to run. But in the Swarm environment, if I can deploy the stack as a one file I'm going to maintain and Docker stack, one command I'm going to use. With that, I'm going to deploy the complete application.
Okay.
Okay, that replicas also I can scale up, I can scale down also by using that replicas also I can scale up or scale down using single shot itself. And if any of the microservice got new update also, I got a new image, I'll just update my tag of the image, then I can update my complete application also. Means everything we are controlling from the deployment also is single shot by using the
Stack.
stack file. Stack file 90% looks like compose file itself. But in this, we are going to create the services. In this, we are going to create the services, and from this itself, we are going to create. From this itself, we are going to create the applications we are going to create.
Okay.
Okay. So this, like if you understand, then we can go for the Kubernetes because we don't use Docker Swarm, Docker Compose in the real time, but Docker file we will use because we want the images. That images instead of using in the Docker Compose or in the Docker Swarm environment, in our real projects, we would be using Kubernetes. But some QA environments or small applications, our client may ask the POC on both. We require even Docker Swarm environment also. We require the knowledge.
Oh,
Okay. So these we'll discuss in the next sessions. Okay.
okay.